years.
Hello everybody, welcome to Gregg's Vintage Workshop, where I'm restoring history one piece at a time. Tonight we're going to be looking at part 3 of the Philco 7070 signal generator. And what I have planned for tonight's video is we will be putting the feet on the cabinet. We will be putting a new power cord in to the power filter line. We will be testing the tubes and generally doing some cleanup on the faceplate and the knobs. And then in the next part, part 4, we should be able to do final assembly and test out. So without further ado, let's get started on tonight's project. So here we are getting ready to test the 6C4 tube from the Philco 7070. I've got it set up in there. I've got it already set up in my BK Dynajet tester, and we're going to be setting up the 6C4. I've already set it up, the 6C4, and there's the settings correlate to the settings down here. And right now it's been in there. You can see the heater element is lit up, and it's been sitting in there for a couple of minutes, so I think I'm about ready to test this so the light isn't glaring on you guys there. So let's go ahead and go with the grid emission. I got nothing there, and we're going to do shorts. The flash on is normal. We don't want them to stay on. And what I'm doing is I'm rotating it through the full cycle of all of the locations. And we wind up back up on 1, the number 1 here. And it looked good. So now we will hit the quality test. Well, that doesn't look good. Let's wiggle the tube around a little bit. This is not a super tight fitting tube. Let's try that. So I'm holding the camera. I'm going to set this camera down for a minute and wiggle the tube around and see if I can get anything. It might just be loose in the socket, so we'll see. Okay, so it looks like that 6C4 is bad. I wiggled it around in the socket as well as I took it out and cleaned it and straightened the pins out a little bit, and I still got nothing. So although the heater circuit works, that tube appears to not work. So I'll check my stash and see if I've got any, but I seriously doubt it. Okay, so now we're over here at the Precision 912 tube tester, and we have the 7F8, and the reason we have that one over here is because the model 606 Dynajet did not have settings for a 7F8 tube. So this is a 7F8 tube that's in here right now. We've been warming up. I've got my line adjusted. We can get a smidge out there, right there. Everything's set up for it. I got my scale all set for it. And right now we're set up for triode 2. And I can tell you right now it's bad because this is our short indicator, but it's also our filament indicator. And the filament, although you saw it flash for a second, it doesn't stay on, and it should stay on. Now, that being said, I can run through each of these and we'll look for shorts. There's a short right there. And what I'm doing is running through the various circuits here for the test. So this one, at least on triode 2, it looks like it's going to test bad. Let's go ahead and hit the meter.
to replace. Too bad that it wasn't good. Alright, so now let's set it up for triode 1, which this has to be on 1. This will be on 6, which it is. 13, 14, and E depressed. We'll go through the shorts again. No filament. Short again on F. Okay. And we want E. That's what I'm looking at right there. Triode 1. Right, E depressed. And then we'll read our meter. And it's bad. Well, 2 for 2. First we had the 6C4 bad, and now we have the 7F8 bad. Of course, with the resistors that I found bad in the actual instrument, it doesn't shock me that these tubes are bad. Alright, one tube left to go. Let's see how that one goes. Alright, so now we have the 6X5 in place, and we do have heater element, as you can see, lit in it. We're on plate 1 of the 6X5. So now let's take a look. We're going to look for filament. See how that stays on? That's the way it's supposed to do. If the filament's not open, that'll stay on. Don't leave it on too long. Okay, so let's check for shorts. Shorts are good. And we want this on B depressed for our test. We'll just let that have a good time to warm up here for a couple seconds, and then we will check our value. Hopefully I'll get one of these 3 tubes good. Well, it's in the good zone, but it's definitely weak. Not great. I'll probably just go ahead and buy 3 tubes if I don't have a 6X5. Let me check my stuff and see if I have a 6X5, and then we have something to compare to anyway. So I'm ready to start putting the case back together again a little bit. The paint has dried. I have worked on the feet. The feet were pretty rusty. They were black to start with. So I went ahead and I wire brushed the rust off, and I shot them with black Rust-Oleum so they're painted. Now they had felt feet that were made into the feet, but they were like made into the feet. So I couldn't get them out. So I went ahead and just painted them and then put these new felt pads right on top of them. And it actually turned out pretty good, I think. Now, 2 of them were so seized up in the case, I had to take these out with pliers. They're threaded in. But I had to take 2 of them out with pliers. And unfortunately, they kind of got crushed. So they're not perfectly round. This one and this one. So I'll probably try to strategically place them so they're not so noticeable, but they'll look better. Let me go get the case and we'll put them on. Alright, so here's the case. I haven't even taken the masking off of it yet. We'll just do that together. Like I was saying on the other video, the hammer paint turned out to be quite a bit lighter and greener than it looked on the lid. So it's not a perfect match, but hey, it's clean and it looks better than it did. That was all scratched up before, so we will go with what we got. I got to wipe off the inside here a little bit. You know, the more I look at it, it actually doesn't look half too bad. If I kind of angle it up, you can kind of see the color come together between the inside and the outside. It's not bad. It's not perfect, but it ain't bad. I guess, you know, considering this was built in 1947 and I bought Rust-Oleum that's from present day, that was just whatever the heck it was called. Verdine, I think it's called, or something like that. It don't have the name on the can. Anyway. Okay, so looking at this, here's the power outlet box I was telling you about, the spot welded in. You see all the spot welds in there. So I couldn't really get that out. So let's go ahead and flip this over, get the feet on it. I'm planning on also doing the handle today. I'm going to spray the handle. This is the top over here, and this is the bottom. So I'm thinking that the feet that are bent, I'm going to put on this bottom towards the back. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those first so I can get them in the spots that I want them, which we're going to go right here. Unfortunately, these things are bent slightly, so it's going to kind of mess my paint up a little bit as I tighten them down. Not very fast. That must be a super fine thread. I'm not sure why that's not screwing any faster than what it is. Let's get the other one on there, on the other side. You know what? I bet you the threaded part's turning in the metal part here. All right, I'll have to do something to make those catch better. I might have to take them out and stick a little super glue in there to hold it. Let me see what happens here. Let me take you off camera and I'll see what I can figure out. What I remembered was when I took those feet off, one of them had a nut on it. And I think they might have used it to draw it in for the exact reason that I was having. So I just ran to my local Menards and bought some 1032 stainless nuts, same as what that was because there was only one. Bought some 632 lock nuts and some 3/4 inch long 632 screws, and this will be to hold these are all stainless steel, these will be to hold the handle in place, because what came out of it were the 2 screws that came through that held that power section in place, and they were all rusty. So I got some 3/4 inch long. Those that were in there were about 1 inch long. I think that 3/4 was overkill, but I went with it just in case. And then if you remember, we only had like 4 screws holding the front plate on. So the shortest I could get was 1/2 inch, but these are 632 Phillips head screws, the 4 that were in there. So I bought stainless steel 632. I got 24 of them total. So when I put the cover back on here, or the faceplate back on here, it'll be with stainless steel screws, and we'll never have to worry about them rusting again. I'm going to go ahead and get these feet installed with the nuts, and I will pick it back up. I got the feet all on. I'll show you those in a second. The other thing I did was I got a grommet in the top of the case. I installed a new cord. I just got through tying my underwriter's knot. That'll keep it, it'll form the strain relief for this. And there's our wires. I'll show you the handle. Turned out real nice. There's our stainless steel screws. There's our handle. There's our grommet. The hammer effect took the handle very, very nicely. And the more I look at the case, it did too. It did too. Just not quite as hammered as I was expecting it to look. This handle does pivot, by the way. It can pivot further than that if I want to pivot it. I found it interesting that the cord came out the top, but then I guess maybe they're planning on you putting it down flat like this, which now that it's flat like standing up, I'll put it down, you can see the feet. So there's the feet. It turned out really nice. And there's the other feet. If I can get it where you guys can see them. So they turned out pretty decent too. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, bad news. I don't think I really have room in this to put a fuse. Not in this box. I mean, the only thing I could possibly do is mount a glass fuse in here inside the actual case with maybe some epoxy or something to hold it in place, because I don't want to drill any holes. I mean, I could probably use one of these handle studs, I guess, to mount one, possibly. And then I could run, I'd have to put a hole, right? I'd have to put a hole in this, so I could run my wire through it to come out to the fuse and then one back in. I guess I could do that. I just got to get me a glass fuse holder because I don't have a glass fuse holder that I can use for this. Let me show you this a little bit different. Maybe if we can get there. Maybe I can even zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here's our outlet with our rework stuff. So I do have space over here. If I could drill the box, like right here, I could probably, as long as the fuse holder, the other type, could go in there, still screw out and be pulled out, I could do that. I could also do it here on this side, but the cord's more in the way on this side. I mean, because I still got to pull that down some, right? I got to figure out how I want to do this, how I'm going to get the fuse in there. I kind of like the idea of what I had there, but I still wind up having to drill a hole in this box. And obviously this is spot welded in. I can't take it out. I'm going to have an angle drill head that I could somehow maybe get in there and drill this. But either way, however I do it, whether it be on this side or it'll be on this side. So I got to get that figured out. Let me figure it out and then we'll come back. We're back. I got it figured out. It was staring me straight in the face. I put it right in the cover. I just drilled the hole. I took the fuse holder, and if I go straight down like this, I'm a good 1/4 of an inch with the bottom terminal away from the, just sitting it like this, right, where it touches. Bottom line is, by the time it sits on top of this, it sits on this little washer and goes through this, it'll be well off of there. You know, it's not the best situation in the world, obviously, but keep it halfway close, right? And it should work fine. So I'm going to do that. We'll make that happen, and we'll come back. All right, let me show you what I've done. I got my fuse holder mounted into the can here. I've got my UL nut down there. I wound up having to lengthen the leads on this particular capacitor right here so that I could gain space in there. It was too tight to get that wire on there. That's the neutral. I'm fine here. There's plenty of clearance between this bottom lead and this lead, but I'm also worrywart. So what I did was I cut some fish paper. I got some fish paper sitting there. I got some fish paper sitting there. I got some fish paper sitting there, and I got some fish paper sitting there. Basically any place that I think that any of those wires may possibly contact metal surface. Not that it should make any difference, but again, I'm a worrywart, and I just want to make sure that nothing's going to short out. Now, that being said, I see a spot here on this side that I can probably put something. May very well rub up against at some point in time, but that'll block that, so that can't happen. There. So that's that. So we should be all buttoned up. Everything should be good to go. You all knots in there. That's all screwed in. We're ready to put the lid on. And there we go. And that's on there. Let me finish screwing that down, and I will be back. Okay folks, so what we're going to be doing right now is I'm going to be working on cleaning this faceplate up some. I've already started, and I cleaned some of this right here. And I'm not sure how visible that is. I can see some shine in the camera. It's actually cleaning up pretty nice. These were, as dull as you see this is the way these were. And all I'm using is some turtle wax polishing compound, light to medium. I gotta be really careful though, because this is actually a brass plate, and I can go through this brass very easily. I'm gonna show you a little bit of it, and then I will do the rest off camera, because obviously I'm not gonna bore you to death with me scrubbing using polishing compound and scrubbing with my finger. I'm just trying to do a very light cleaning, because I don't want to go through on the edging. As you can see, we got this nice chrome edging all along the bottom and up the sides, and I have to be very careful because I don't want to go through it, but I do want to get a nice shine to it. So it's kind of a fine line between the shine and going too far. Once I get the all done with this, I'll probably just go over it with some soap and water versus a cleaner, because I don't want to chance going through it. I actually have a bristle brush over here as well, but it's not a metal bristle brush. It's not like a stiff nylon brush. This is like textured, these little rings. Matter of fact, let me zoom you up a little bit. I'll even go a little bit bigger so you can see the textured rings better. So you can see in here the textured rings, and this is where it's obvious. This is around 455. This is where it was used the most, and you can see it's kind of boogered up pretty good there. So we'll have to see how that's going to clean up. Alright, so I got it cleaned up. I'm pretty happy with the way it cleaned up. The only thing I wasn't too happy with was the area that was really worn down. We're at the 455 mark. It was black, if you remember what it looked like. So here we are with this cleaned up. And in order to get the black out where you could see it, it actually took it down into the brass below it, which is what I was telling you I didn't want to do. But unfortunately, I think it was already there, and the black was what we were seeing was the corrosion on it. Looked like rust, but I think it was the brass. It was just corroded. So not much I can do with that. I think I'm going to shoot this whole thing with a coat of clear. That way I don't have to worry about that coming back. We'll go from there. I think that we're going to call it for part 3. If you're new to Gregg's Vintage Workshop, make sure you click on the like and subscribe button. If you could look over to the upper left of your screen, there'll be a video that'll pop in there. That's one that I'll recommend that you guys take a look at. And I hope you'll join us for part 4, where we'll reassemble this Philco 7070 and test it out and put it through its paces. So for now, from Gregg at Gregg's Vintage Workshop, Thank you for watching.